All right. Welcome again, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for the exploratory testing kickoff. Many of you may have already started this through the Train the Trainer program and have been in the environment, but for some of you, I realize this may be the first time that you may be getting access to the testing area of our new EVA platform and getting that first look in. My name is Lisa Kirby. I am the Deputy Director for the EVA program, and I am also the testing lead currently for the new EVA platform. We're going to go through and introduce you to some other resources that you will need throughout this experience. But as we get started, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little overview of what you can expect. Just a short agenda today as well. Introduction, we've handled that. You got to meet me. Unfortunately, my pup did not jump in and join us this morning or this afternoon for the introductions. I'm sure she may be around later. I'm going to apologize in advance for that. We're going to go over a quick little overview of what you can expect in the testing. What is going to be available, go over some resources that you have as a tester that are available to you, as well as some just basic testing tips, because I do know that for many of us, testing software may not be something that we're used to doing. It might be something that we are users and we go in and we know how to use it, but we don't necessarily are in a day-to-day job of testing software. We are mostly procurement professionals. So I'm just going to share a few tips of that for while you are going through and testing the new EVA platform. And then we're also going to cover some outstanding items, because as you know, this is all a work in progress right now. What you see in UAT today, in our testing environment today, I'm going to try and avoid UAT. Might change a little bit. We still have a couple more drops left. So I do want to share with you some of those outstanding items that we have that we're currently working on as we get to the end of this. And again, just as a reminder, I don't have on here, but I will take questions and answers at the end of this. Please use the Q&A feature to make sure that we do capture those. I am not very good at monitoring the Q&A as I go through some information. So we'll probably collect those all at the end and then answer questions at the end, but feel free to enter them as you go, or maybe we'll answer it along the way for you as well. Fingers crossed. So this is just a high-level overview of what we're doing with testing. And so you know where we're at in the progress as far as how the different blocks of testing that we have. It would be lovely if we could have brought in a complete version for you to come in that was, this is what we expect to go live, and have you come into that environment day with that full expectation. However, we're building and updating things as we go. We're taking feedback and suggestions that we've had from our end users along the way, even our trainers that have been in the environment, our DPS and DGS staff as well. And we've already done some tweaking to some things, which is really nice as well. So where we are at right now is exploratory testing. That's open to everyone. We are still undergoing some user setup for that, and we will be getting those out to you all shortly. You should have gotten an email this week letting you know to watch out for that invite that says welcome to UAT, so you can log in and get your username and password for that new environment. During this exploratory testing area that we are in, there is limited workflow that you will experience for your agency. While you are going to be flipped if you're already a current user, or set up if you are a new user, to your client, the workflow that you experience should give you a nice feel for what you can expect go live, but we are not quite yet at the point where you can go in and you can look at the approval flow and say, this is what it looks like day one. So just keep that in mind as you're working through this right now. What we really want you to focus on is functional testing, making sure it works for you. Things that we want to hear about, we'll get into that too, but if it's broke, let us know now. But keep the approval flow. We're going to deal with that a little bit later in our testing experience. For those of you that also have FIM enabled for your agency or single sign-on, that is set up for many of our organizations now, so you can test that and make sure it's working for your organization. All of the COVA, Vita, InScope agencies, you will be able to access that COVA link now. Once we get your username set up and you get your invitation to join the environment, you should be able to leverage that single sign-on feature and make sure that works. We do have a couple of organizations that are still working on getting their single sign-on set up, ODU and BCCS. So if you are a member of that organization and you don't see your name yet, don't worry, we're working with your technical folks and getting that set up. And if you are another organization that isn't an existing FIM user and you're interested in that, that is something that you could reach out directly to your account executive and let them know. And we can see if that's something, again, right now we're balancing what can we take on before go live and make sure we give you the best environment versus new features and things like that. So if you get us at a good time, we might be able to get you in there if you're interested in leveraging that for your organization day one. There are 2 additional pieces of testing that are coming soon or, in the future. We're not quite there yet, and that is integration testing. You'll get information about that specifically. We'll be letting you know if you're an integration interface agency when you will be able to test that information. Our team is currently putting a nice pretty bow on it now, making sure that they're happy with how it's working. And then we'll pull in our clients to come in and support their involvement of that interface or integration exchange and bring you in for that too. However, if you're here for that and you're excited about it, I'm going to encourage you to go ahead now and leverage this time to get familiar with the functional clicks and points of how you create a transaction, because that's going to speed you up. You'll know, hopefully, how to create transactions before you get in and when you start integration and interface testing. So that will hopefully speed up your process as well. And the final bit and piece is conversion testing. That'll mostly be handled by our DPS, DGS folks. We may include clients, depends on the time frame of when that is available. Our biggest focus right now, though, is making sure that we have tested all of the functional aspects, the nooks and crannies of the new platform to make sure that if there is any showstoppers, that we identify them before we go live. So just wanted to give you a quick overview of where we are with the testing, because it's been a little bit of a process. So some resources that you all have available for you are the tools of where you will go to get information. On the EVA testing webpage, and how you navigate that is from the EVA Transition Newsroom. If you go to the very top of the EVA homepage, there is a link that's gold and it says EVA Transition Newsroom. If you click there, you will be taken to our transition page where there is a link for the EVA testing webpage directly from that. Our testing website will include links to the sandboxes that you will access in order to complete your testing. It's not, we still have our existing production-like UAT environment in place. So you are going to have to navigate differently than where you would if you were accessing our current training or UAT environments. So you're going to go to the testing page to get to those links. We also have the tips that we'll share here. We'll download this PowerPoint for you guys to have afterwards too. And we will be adding some of our known issues out there too, so that way you all have a good idea of where we stand if you're running into something, and is this something the EVA DGS DPS team knows about already, or did I find something new? It's like a big Easter egg hunt right now. So that all is out there, as well as our schedule. One thing I like to point out is we do have downtime. Most cases that is Monday from 5 to 7. We did have a migration last night in EVA. The testing environment is currently down right now, and as soon as it's back up, we will let you know. But for our scheduled downtimes, there is a calendar that does have that information out there. We do have some go live dates, as well as today's meeting invite. If we need to or plan to do future meetings with our testers, you'll find that information out there as well. And then we do have a spreadsheet loaded out there where you can access links to what we are calling on-demand support. And we'll go into that a little bit more, but it's a good resource page for you to go through, find some quick information when it comes to testing and information that might help you with questions that you may have. So with the sandboxes there in the middle, just to point out, there are a couple of different ways that you can navigate. We have our buyer sandbox, where you traditionally would go in and log in as a buyer. There's also the ability where you can go in as a supplier and you can register a supplier and you can see what the supplier side of the house looks like, which is something we're excited to offer you all. That's a little bit more challenging, and we know that right now we're working on those are some known issues that we're working on, but we will get you some instructions and guidance to that as it comes available as well. Also, you will have links to the all opportunities page, which it looks very similar to today's current all opportunities page. I mean, we're maintaining that in the new platform. What this allows you to do is get, as you're testing, you get that complete look and feel throughout the process. So if you're testing solicitations, you can see what it looks like as a buyer. Then you can log in as a supplier and you can complete your response. You can then move over into the all opportunities page too and just scroll and search and look and see if everything is working as you would expect, as you're used to today. The last piece that I would like to point out for you is that if you need training for how to use the tool, I am super excited to announce, if you have not heard, that all of our requisitioner training is available to users right now in the VIP LMS system. If you are not a member of that, if you go to the EVA Transition Newsroom, you can directly log into the LMS page and start going through your learning journey now and learn some quick tips of navigating the tool. It's a self-paced, a lot of the courses that are out there and guides and information, so you can do this on your own time. I encourage our testers to also be familiar with that as well, so that way they can kind of get caught up on what might be how the system works, the points and clicks and everything. It does a very nice job of laying that back out for you, as well as our bug playbacks or buyer user group meetings. We have done demos since maybe August. And we also had summit sessions where we walked through how you create transactions and do various aspects within the EVA platform. Those are all training tools that are available to you right now. And I do believe that we have additional assets dropping into the Learning Center for you all this week or next week. I believe it's this week, but I'm going to say early next week for sourcing. So you'll be able to get a lot more of that training that you might need if you're struggling with creating a transaction. We do have some guidance and references out there for you. All right, so testing tips. There is and Sarah Lewis, thank you. I see the chat. She said early next week at the latest. So she shared that with us. The sourcing assets will be available early next week. So a few tips when you come in and you are testing. I need you to take your procurement hat off a little bit. You can keep it on when it comes to, you're used to checking for specifications, maybe. You're used to looking at the details and making sure that something is giving you what you need and your requirements and so forth. But when you come into a testing environment, your goal and your purpose is to try to break the system. You want to make sure it works for you too. But at the end of the day, if you do everything exactly right, then you know the system's going to work well. However, for many of you, I'm sure you've experienced that some people just put in anything, anywhere. There might be some bad data out there as well. So try and break the system. Do what you can. If you think it should be a date in a numeric field or a date, put in a number, put in some text. Try and see what you can do to break the system as well. We've been doing that ourselves, but I want you to put yourself in that mindset as you enter into our testing environment. Also, focus on the business processes that you have. You are coming into a system and don't look for, you can look at scripts and guides that you might have available for you, but focus on the business process. You have transactions in production right now, recreate those into the testing environment and make sure that you can complete all of these transactions and you can get it through the system. That is really your end goal. Expect to find issues. It is a test environment. That is always something that's your goal. You're looking for issues, so go in looking for them. Don't be alarmed if you see a lot or if you find a lot, because we are still, again, we have additional drops. And I encourage you, as you get in there the first couple of times, just play around, explore, get to know it. just now play with the navigation and things like that, and then start getting into where you're like, okay, this is the business process I want to test. I want to test shopping from a statewide contract and then going in later and issuing a change order. How is that going to work for me? Work through just getting to know and getting familiar with the system, and then come in and do your testing. As you are testing, it's helpful to record your steps. It does not have to be anything detailed, but if you do find an issue, we will have to try and recreate it. If we can't recreate it, it's difficult for us to pinpoint and see what the issue is to resolve it. So it's very helpful for you if you just keep a baseline of information, what you're doing as you are testing these. I mentioned earlier, our goal is to break it before go live. Again, we're in a unique environment. We've got a few weeks left before our go live date. So we would love to be able to make sure that if we are at least aware of things that are broken in the system or could be better before go live. So that way we can share it out with all of the end users that we have. And it also will support our customer care and our post-implementation support team with helping end users that might run into things after go live as well. Another thing I like to mention is to test across browsers and devices. i.e., I will add an asterisk to if you are using Internet Explorer. It's no longer, Microsoft isn't going to even be supporting it anymore. So we're going to encourage you to use the latest browsers that are available to you when you are doing your testing. I don't encourage you to use IE. It is since it is being sunset, we know some of our users will potentially still may be using it after it is sunset, but we're going to be steering people to use other browsers other than IE. If you find an issue, there are a lot of things to do because you found that Easter egg. What you want to do is check and see if this is a known issue that we have recorded and shared with you all on the testing website. I'll jump a little bit ahead, but escalate internally. We're encouraging each entity to establish one point of contact for testing. What that does is it really helps to streamline and make sure that new issues are escalated up. And what your entity is going to find is that you'll probably learn with everybody coming to one place and reporting things internally, it's going to make your communications better for your end users once you go live as well. You also have the option to attend an on-demand support session. That'll allow you to screen share with us, somebody from the EVA team, and see what the problem is. It may be that we can help you directly. It might be an end user error. It might be, again, a known issue. But most importantly, if you find an issue and you see something, please escalate it and say something. Again, we hope that you focus that to your internal user, but we will have those on-demand support sessions to help you share that information directly to the EVA team as well. Just to get into the details here on the escalation path that we are recommending for all of our testers, because we do expect that you will find issues and bugs. We also want to hear about what you like. Document your steps and transactions independently. So as you find it, make sure you gather as much information that you can so it can be reproduced. Your user ID, the browser that you were using, the transaction ID that you were working on, all of that is really helpful information for us as we go through and try and look at the issue and either resolve it or document the issue so we can share it with CGI to work on adjusting and making fixes. Make sure that you can recreate the issue. If it can only happen one time, it doesn't mean it's not real and it doesn't exist. But if you can't recreate it using your steps that you're giving and you're escalating and sharing up, it's going to be very difficult for us again to resolve that issue. Once you've gotten all of that information together, reach out to that internal resource at your organization to let them know what you have found. So that is you as an individual tester. As an internal resource, if you are that person, that single point of contact at your entity that is collecting all bugs and issues, the first thing that you want to do is see, can the issue be recreated? I know that sounds repetitive, but we want to make sure that we can recreate it. We have enough information so that way we can help you. Check and see if this is a known issue, if it's something you've already escalated up to your DPS account executive, or it's something that you've already seen from other peers or that we have shared with you all as an outstanding item that we're working on. Make sure that all of the documentation that we talked about previously is collected, that you have a transaction ID, you have a user ID, you have steps, you have the browser information, and then share that information. We're suggesting weekly to your DPS account executive up to so that way they can collect it and they're triaging that as well. Your DPS account executives will then verify those issues. They're going to check the open issues list again, and then they'll be working with us to create a defect in our tracking system to make sure that it is recorded and we can either determine if it's a fix that needs to happen before go live or if it's something that we'll have to wait until after go live. At the bottom here, you see the note for on-demand support hours. That is truly, if you're running into something and you need help as a tester, well, we're going to have a limited number of staff that are going to be working those hours, but most Mondays and Fridays from 9 to 11, you can join a Zoom session. We'll have breakout rooms if necessary. A lot of our DPS folks have really enjoyed hearing what other people have brought to the table if they found something or need support. It's a good learning opportunity. But if necessary, if we have a lot of people, we'll break people out and have some one-on-one guidance to help you with the issues that you are finding. And maybe it's referring you to some training material, or it could be helping to record issues that you have found as well. And all of that, again, is on the website. You'll be able to see the links directly to those Zoom sessions to join us for those sessions. Again, most Mondays and Fridays. Benita shared with me this morning that we had a couple people find the link out there already, which is great. We had anticipated starting that today, but we are actually going to be starting those tomorrow morning. So if you would like to, if you get into the test environment this afternoon or tomorrow, you find something and you want somebody to talk to about it, will be available from 9 to 11. All right, so where you're getting started, I feel like I say a lot of the same things, but start with reviewing the testing website. That is going to give you a lot of information as far as where your links are, some resources that are available, and all of that good information that we've talked about. Identify scenarios and transactions that you have in the production environment now that you would like to recreate. We're in a really unique opportunity right now. We can have a production environment pulled up on one screen if you have two monitors, and you can have the test environment pulled up next to you on another monitor. This is a rare time. We have, until December 30th, where you will be able to have both environments up side by side and see how they operate. I highly encourage you to do that. Start with a simple transaction, recreate that, and then maybe move to some more complex transactions that your organization has created in production, and just recreate that in the sandbox that we have that you'll be using. I do encourage everyone to create their own supplier account. That way you can log in, you can see the order from the supplier side of the house, you can see the solicitation response. We have some really great new features now where you can share and exchange contracts back and forth. That way you can get that full experience and see the full circle of how things are working. There is a link here, and again, this will be posted out there for you all, but if you have already been out to the EVA transition newsroom, there is an issue that link that you can report anything that you find in UAT. Once you've created your supplier, we have to manually put it through the activation process to make it fully registered. So just send us your supplier number, and one of the EVA team members will be monitoring those and making sure that we onboard your supplier account for you. And then there's also the link for where you will be able to go to register your supplier. I had hoped that our UAT environment would be up today so I could actually show you a little bit more inside, but that's unfortunately not an option at this moment. However, you do have some direct links, and I hope that after this meeting, you all are able to go back through here, click these links, and generate some supplier accounts for you as well. Again, Finally, after you have gone in and created your supplier account, log in as your buyer, leverage the single sign-on, see if that's working for you. All of you will be set up with the ability to create state entered vendors, complete orders, sourcing events, and contracts. As we get all of everyone set up, you will be able to process your order directly all the way through the approval flow. However, because you cannot, there's a caveat, in order to do so, you will need to take and change your on behalf of to another user at your organization. That way you can, the transaction you create can be pushed through the system. So we'll have a slide for that we'll share with you guys as well on how to do that. So that way you can remember, because it is a little bit of a nuance. Otherwise, other people in your organization that are testing, they can hit the approve button to get your orders processed all the way through to an ordered status. All right. One thing that I have heard from our DGS, DPS folks who have been testing is that they were a little surprised or got a little disjointed initially with some of the supplier side of the house. And I just want to give you a quick overview of what you can expect as you do go into the supplier side. So if you're looking at this screenshot now, it is the public view. I am not a logged in user. I might be. But all of these pages that you see here are going to be links that you are used to seeing today, or suppliers are used to accessing today in production. The My Leads page will drop down with all of their recommended solicitations that we think match their commodity codes, the All Opportunities page, the center look that you have here, the B2B Connect, Vibe, and Transparency is actually our public search dashboard. But all of this information here is really the public view that you are experiencing. Once you go into the My Business that is not highlighted yellow, that is where you begin to access things that are restricted to a user based on their login. So that is the supplier's custom account area specifically, other than the My Leads. Once you are logged in and you click the you go to business, My Business, and you click one of the options there, it changes and it looks a little bit more like the buyer side look and feel. All that means is you are now in an area as a supplier where this is information that is custom to you as a supplier that is a logged in user. So just to kind of give you that, because I know, and I'll go back and then go forward. You notice we have that nice white bar at the top. Our descriptions are different. Your header looks different. So as you navigate into My Business, it looks like you're going to a different web page. You're not. It's just recognizing that this is the public facing side of the house, and this is behind the scenes, my logged in account, my logged in user as a buyer, as a supplier. So just a quick little overview there. So as you start navigating and you notice that's a little disjointed, you understand really what that is showing for you guys. All right. This page here, I'm not going to dig into too much because it is really meant for you as a takeaway that you can look at afterwards. And this is just a very high level. If you do not know where to start with your testing, where should you start? What can you do? So this walks you through. We follow kind of the entire process where you would come in, view all opportunities as a supplier, register your account, check out the account maintenance features that are available. And then once you switch to green, this is really going to be your buyer function, or your contract officer position would be issuing a solicitation. As a buyer, here you would be processing an order from a contract that was created. So it's really walking you through the entire procurement life cycle and breaking that out for you. Our team has found that's the best way to create transactions initially once you first come in and get a good feel. So even if this is just your first exploratory level before you go in and create your agency transactions, it's a good opportunity to come in. And if you do this and you work through these high level options, you will touch and have exposure to just about every nook and cranny of the new EVA platform. There is more specific ones here because we know there's never just one easy way to do something. in EVA, there's a lot of little processes in between these just big overarching ones that I had on the high level page, such as, mass editing lines, doing a change order, posting the notice of intent, to doing a blanket order with purchase order releases. There's a lot of smaller processes in that too. So as you get more comfortable, if you're still looking for ideas of things you can do to test and get most familiar with the system before go live, this is another good option for you to go in and start creating those transactions. I do have in here a few other established data is what I'm calling it, but they're suggested suppliers that you could use or sample solicitations that are already out there if you want to test what it's like to respond to a solicitation or see what it looks like. That way you can kind of get a feel for some work that's already been done before you dig into. These are just a couple that we have. Just keep in mind that as we go through this, you'll have a lot of transactions are going to be created out there throughout the environment by a lot of our users. And so just if you're working within your client, you have multiple people issuing solicitations, make sure you make it unique so that way you know which ones are yours and another testing person. But we do have some samples out there, so that way if you're looking for what does it look like to issue an order to a self-registered vendor versus a state-entered vendor, those are some suppliers that you could test with, as well as just solicitations. The questionnaires ones that you see here, I highly encourage you all, if you're going to start playing around and exploring, to take a look at these solicitations first to get an idea of those are the complex solicitations, like sourcing and contracting would be to you today, where you can really take advantage of all of the opportunities that this new platform is going to offer you by really moving your procurements completely electronic. And then we do have some of the, what I would call the simple solicitations, where it's maybe attachment driven, pretty similar to VBO buyer. That might be the avenue that many of you are going as you transition into the tool and then choose to grow and expand all of the different sourcing features that we have. But I want to make sure that you had a couple of different examples to look at once you start exploring the system, because creating them from scratch, if you haven't completed any of the training, might be a little intimidating. All right, so features that are not going to be included in this exploratory testing at this point in time. And I apologize if I should have led with this a little bit earlier on, but we're not rolling out testing yet for data management or user management. Our reports are still in the works. Conversion is also something that is in the works still, and our integration and interface that is in progress. I believe that'll be kicking off sooner rather than later, and we'll be reaching out to you guys directly. Maria Hatcher, if she hasn't been in touch with you yet, will be, so that way you can get started. Again, we're setting up all of your users as soon as UAT is up to make sure that you're in your client organization and you can go in and create transactions. So be watchful for that email as well. As promised, there are some outstanding items. The list appears long. However, I'm very confident that a lot of this is going to be resolved before we hit go live. I'm not going to go through each one of these. However, you have it available for you. If you have questions about these items, the on-demand support room is a good place to start. If not, your account executive. But we will be having additional drops next Monday and I believe the following Monday. Those are all scheduled and on the testing webpage, so that way you can know when those drops will occur. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up so that way we can try and get through any questions that anyone has about testing and see if we can help you with that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my sharing and open it up so that way you all can share with me whatever questions you have. If our test environment is up, then I might even be able to open it up so that way you can, maybe I can show you some things that are available.
We do have 5 open questions, and some of them you've already actually given some answers to, but it's probably worth restating. So we can definitely make sure that we go through those written questions that have been submitted. We also have, again, the transition testing page, and a lot of what Lisa referenced is located there. So that might be worth sharing as well, just to provide some additional clarification. When do we need to finish testing? When do we need to have it wrapped up? That's a great first question to start with.
Awesome. So here's the thing with testing. We have, like I said, 2 more drops over the next 2 weeks. So we will be where all of the known issues to see that we are aware of will be coming in if we need to schedule an additional migration because we find showstopper issues. That's really where we're at now. I feel very confident. Shane, Mark, Joel, Ishmael, a few of us have met earlier this week, and we all feel pretty confident that what we have right now in UAT, it's not perfect. We know that. I wish I had a magic wand and I wish I had those powers to make it perfect. But it's not perfect right now, but there's no showstoppers. Orders can go out the door, solicitations can be created and posted and walked through that. So I would encourage you to wrap up your testing in the next 2 to 3 weeks to escalate any concerns that you see that are, big deals to you as soon as possible. But we will be continuing to have, after go live, we'll continue to be having releases just like we have right now that you're used to in production, Eva. So I think 2 to 3 weeks is a good time frame to have any testing that you all have identified. We'll be testing until December 30th. I mean, probably until January 3rd, until it goes live. We won't stop testing. That is on the Eva side of the house. Yep. And I don't anticipate that you all will either. So that way we can continue to resolve any bugs or issues that we find.
So that's going to wrap that up. And then when the UAT access username and password, when is that email being sent? Because we do have some that haven't received it. They've just started to go out. Is that accurate? And then
they did, and unfortunately, it's gotten slowed down a little bit with the downtime that we have today. And there was a migration Monday or yesterday's migration actually happened during a different time during our working hours, so we weren't able to get those in yet. It is something that we're working on. We're communicating with the account executives as those are set up. But we do have a good game plan. I feel like I was looking at the numbers today. The numbers are pretty solid for where we're at as far as who's left, but we are working to get everybody else set up.
Yep. So we can anticipate that by next week, everybody would have access and receive.
Oh, you better believe. Yes. Okay. If I have to work over the weekend,
that's the best thing to do.
Get everybody set up.
So we just want to let you know and hope that you hear that if for whatever reason by next week on Monday, okay, just give us until then. For whatever reason, you haven't received your email by next week on Monday, because we're at Wednesday, happy 1st of December, then let us know and we will work to see, and also make sure to check your spam, okay? Make sure you check your spam folder on places that things don't normally go.
Yeah, and always your first point of contact is your account executive. They'll be able to go in and see if your username has been established. If not, they'll be able to get you your password or reset the email to go out to let you know that your username exists. So, and I will say, once you get the email, if you just forgot your password with your email address or your user ID, depending on if you're an integration clients, will use a UAT user ID. Non-integration clients will use their email address as their login. You'll be able to reset that password too.
Yep. And then again, some people have gotten the email and are trying to access and are getting a server error in application. And that is actually because we had downtime earlier today. Now that was communicated to our testers. And I know that those T words are getting interchanged.
Trainers.
Because we also, trainers, sorry. Yeah, those T words are getting interchanged. Trainers, we have trainers that already have access to UAT. So if you're one of those people, you would have gotten that notification from training that the UAT environment was having some downtime. So if you are a tester, then you tried to get in prior to the meeting today, you would have also gotten that error message. So that's why you saw that error message, Catherine. And then, going forward, we're hoping to have, we're getting
as soon as it's up, we have everybody's email address that's part of integration interface testing, train the trainer, and then our exploratory testers. We will communicate that out to everyone that it is back up, regardless of whether or not you have a user ID. You're in one distribution list right now, but we'll let you know when it's back up. Fingers crossed it's any minute.
So is the EVA testing that's in the LMS, or is there other testing area you're referring to? And I think again that
Yeah,
those
let me
two
show the
words kind of,
website. I think
yeah.
that's the best way to go about this.
And so let's just also clarify for Catherine that yes, that training materials, self-guided training, train the trainer materials. I have successfully completed the requisition training, yay me. That is all in the LMS. Testing, the other T word, testing is, yeah, go ahead and share that, Lisa. Those resources can be found under the testing section. And we're using UAT, of course, which is a user acceptance testing environment, a testing environment to be able to run through scenarios. If you're a train the trainer, you're using it to run through scenarios. And if you're a tester, now you're getting to go through all this good exploratory type of exploration on your own.
Yep. So from the transition newsroom, you are a purchasing professional. So you're going to click here at the EVA transition testing website link is where you will be taken to. From this page, you have the links right here at the top in the overview area where you will be able to access the sandbox and log in as a buyer, as well as our all opportunities page. And we will get the supplier side updated so that way you have a link for that as well. Just while we're on here, there are a couple different buckets that I want to make sure that you're aware of. Our scripted testers, that was something that we used to coordinate with a separate group of people that were following specific scripts for testing. You all are considered our exploratory testers at this point in time. So again, we have just a couple links here, but report an issue or ask a question. There, we will be fleshing that out again, like I said, adding this PowerPoint out there and adding our known issues list for you all as well. But your links where you're accessing that is right here. And this is where you're going in to log in and access the environment.
So the testing database, is that the same as the integration interface testing? And I believe we already answered that.
Yes, it will be the same. We have one sandbox. You are in a sandbox for testing. We do need to make some changes to clients, flip some of our individuals. If you participated in Train the Trainer or you were set up earlier, we are having to update your account. You might get a new login. But yes, it's one big sandbox right now.
And where do we send the notification of any issues? So we just want to restate that.
Yep. So again, starting out at the central point of contact at your agency and escalate there. You may also, they will escalate it to the DPS account executive. And then you also have, and I'll share this on the screen because I didn't really touch on it when we were looking at this page, but these on-demand support hours, if you're working on something and you need some help or you found something, you're welcome to join here to share that information with us. We do have an area where you can report an issue or ask a question. If you would like to use that, you can. However, now that we are expanding this to, we've got 96 callers on here. EVA team is 10 people. That of our core team, I think roughly, I'm terrible at numbers, but we really need to pull in our account executives. And honestly, a lot of the things that we run into are business case scenarios. And the best people to work with you through those business case scenarios are the account executives. They've been in the platform for now 2 months, a lot of them, and they've learned the tool or they're familiar with it, and they can help you with like, oh, well, maybe, you know, it's a change. Now we have a new template where you create a confirming order, and that's where you do this. So it might just be, you know, or this is a training piece that maybe we should access as well. So follow the path, but also you can, if you absolutely feel like you want to escalate it to the EVA team, you can use that report an issue or ask a question button. But we are kind of suggesting that you funnel it up to the account executives first or on-demand support hours.
Thank you so much. And the question was like, did I hear you say that you're duplicating our production environment into the test environment?
No, not at all. Not at all. That is a conversion exercise. That is, like I said earlier, that is much later in the process. For what you will experience in testing is, for example, we'll take, you might have 5 testers at your organization. And if you're testing purchase orders and your approval flow has been applied. And I say that loosely. It is a look and feel. It is not the exact replica because we've not gone through, there's iterations that occur in order for us to get to conversion. And we're testing each iteration before we pull in something else. We don't want to wait for that before we pull you into testing. So I completely lost my train of thought. So what you will see is you will go in, and if your organization has 7 approvals, you will have all of those. It's not going to mimic your exact production environment. You might have everything. So that way you can approve an order all the way through and you can see the workflow. You can see that it's hitting everywhere, but we're not at a point where you're going to be able to verify that because we didn't load all of your production users into the UAT environment either. We're loading a subset. So that we wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think that handles the next question nicely about that you mentioned that you're planning to load approval flows for each agency. Can you go over that plan again? And again, it's a general load.
Yeah, it's a general, the approval profiles that we have. And I'm still getting familiar with the terminology because it changed a little bit. Yana and I this morning, our global security officer, were going through and she was helping me, but I'm going to fumble it. But we're going to make sure that you guys have a good sample of what you can experience to see what that workflow looks like and how it's going to apply, but it may not be 100% to what you're accustomed to.
And do you have an estimate of when the admin area will open up for testing in UAT to entities UM and DM?
It will not open up and I don't imagine that will be available in testing. That'll be something that I believe will handle post go live.
Great. And then the only other outstanding question we had was again about how when you discover issues, how you are able to address them, and that we are fixing a lot of what we can fix. I mean, if things are just a tweak here and a turn there, then that's exactly what we're going to do, which is why it's so great to have new eyes, fresh eyes. They always say that they give it to me to break. But it's because I usually look at it from a completely different perspective when we do our general testing, when we've ever had any types of migrations and launches and iterations of things that we've had go live. So same thing with you all. We're looking for you to come in with new eyes. And again, just keep that open mind perspective that yes, in general, it's working as proposed, knowing that we do have a list of open issues that we're resolving, knowing that it's a work in progress, knowing that we have drops that are coming, and in drops we mean enhancements, fixes.
Yeah, we have a post implementation plans that we're already working for releases.
That's right.
We've already started identifying the future releases that'll go out and prioritizing things, but it's important for you all to share what you find with us now, because if you do identify something that is a big issue, then we want to make sure, especially, that impacts our entire EVA ecosystem. We want to make sure that we either can A, resolve it before go live, B, we have a workaround for it, or C, can at least communicate that to people. And so that way you all are aware, our customer care team is aware, because this is such a huge effort. And I know, I just want to preface this for everybody that's on here, because I know it's like, wait, every bug isn't going to be fixed before go live. My organization has hundreds of users and they're going to be coming to me. I completely feel you and understand that is a lot. We'll hope to get information shared out with you so that way we can support you as well with post go live. And we have a buyer user group coming up next week, Kim.
Yes.
And that'll be a great place for you to come if you're curious about what we have going forward as well for post implementation.
Yep. And that's December the 9th. And it's an open Q&A forum. Again, a playback for today will be circulated for all of those who showed up and are part of our distribution list that we already maintain for our client testers. Thank you so much for volunteering your time and attention to help us work through. And again, just be a new, fresh pair of eyes. We're excited about where we are. We know that it is definitely plane going down that runway, getting the final splashes smacked on it so we can be ready for takeoff. And it takes all of us to get us there. And again, thank you for, understanding that our goals day one are to be able to go ahead and have those procurements continue, be able to place orders, be able to have our suppliers able to submit their bids and just not interrupt that general flow of purchasing in the Commonwealth. And we absolutely are on track to achieve that. And it takes all of us to get us there. So again, thank you, and thank you. So Lisa, is there anything else you'd like to add and we can wrap things up?
Well, if you've blocked your calendar today for the rest of the afternoon to test, I'm sorry it's not back up yet. I haven't received word. I will communicate with you all as soon as it is back up and running. However, I do encourage you to access all of the great LMS assets that we have in the training environment right now, because that will, again, the better you know the system, the easier it will be for you to go in and complete your testing too. So definitely take advantage of those right now while we're waiting for the test environment to be back available to you all. So thank you again, and appreciate all of the feedback that I know will come your way, because this is your system that your requirements have built this, and we'll continue to tweak and make it work for you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time and attention, your great questions today. We're going to go ahead and conclude today's session, and I will send a playback by tomorrow. We definitely will need this afternoon to get it queued up and finalized, and then get it circulated out to you tomorrow. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to your DPS account executive, or again, forward it up your chain at your entity so that we can make sure that your questions are being addressed. Have a great rest of your day. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you all.